Okay, hi everyone, welcome back. And in this update, I think we have to do now a complete Elliott Waves analysis on KASPA's price chart, because I'm telling you right now, the recent crashing event completely and drastically changed the picture that we had on KASPA. Because if you remember, the last time that we were on this chart, I think specifically we were right in here, and the idea was that, well, okay, maybe our move down is going to continue a little bit, and we did not expect under any kind of circumstances such an insane move on the downside. And I think one very negative point about KASPA is that, number one, we got a huge move on the downside. And if you check out some reports on Twitter, the average move that in altcoins we got in this crashing hour was, I think, somewhere around 60-62%. However, in KASPA, from the highs to about the lows, as you can see, this was about an 86-87% move down. And also the second negative point about this crash, if you check out every single chart that exists in any exchange, you realize that this shadow actually happened, and this is absolutely, in my view, real. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say, well, okay, because this shadow is real, we are going to get a massive move down in order to fill some gaps that were created as a result of the following bounce back happening way too fast. I do not believe, at least by the end of this cycle, we are going to have that. However, I really cannot ignore the fact that in KASPA, yep, one way or the other, we have taken all the lows. And why do we care about this? Because prior to this crash, the idea in KASPA was that we are having, in this bull run back in 2024, a beautiful clear-cut 5-wave up, and we were like, well, okay, let's hope this is going to be into an A leg followed by a correction for wave B, and what are we going to have? Another move up into our C leg. And do not get me wrong, this scenario still can absolutely be in play. But if you remember, when we were around these areas in KASPA, we were saying that the bottom for our wave B most likely is N. Since we are able to find from the lows maybe 5-wave up followed by a correction down, I think the main idea was that we are having a 1-2 followed by another 1 and a 2 on a lower degree relative to this one. And we were saying, well, okay, if we are lucky and this bullish scenario is truly in play, we have to see a very strong bounce into wave 3 and 4 and 5. And our invalidation point for any kind of bullish case in the short term in KASPA was, yep, taking all the lows, and we have done it, unfortunately. And now I think we have to delete all the waves in here and come up with some new structures, and that unfortunately opens a can of worms. Why? Because here is what's going on in my mind. I think we can actually split the altcoin market into two very important groups. Group number one are the ones that back in 2021 actually had a massive bull run, and from that point until right now, they are in a consolidation pattern. Group number two are actually the altcoins that had a good move on the upside in 2024, even early 2025, and then we are having from that point moving forward a correction and structure down. And KASPA, as you can see, is definitely in the second group. The top in here was around, let's say, July of 2024. Now, why is this important? Because I think for the second group, now given the recent crash, we have to also consider a possibility indicating, you know what, unfortunately, maybe the top is already in, and maybe this is just a bearish setup, and from this point, our move down is going to continue. Basically, these prices in KASPA, about, let's say, 21 cents, might be gone at least for this cycle. Question is though, should this be our primary case? Well, here is what I have to tell you. I think this is literally a coin toss, and one way or the other, I guess this is the positive news. I do believe that we are going to recover from all this crashing event, and we are going to have a move on the upside. There's actually a very high chance that we are going to do that. Why? Okay, in the whole crypto market, we can have basically two different scenarios. It's not going to be anything out of these two. Either we are going to get into a period of time where altcoins are going to outperform BTC, and if we are going to have that, well, okay, KASPA, and for that matter, a whole lot of other altcoins are going to have some big moves on the upside. Scenario number two suggests that we are actually not going to have a period like that. Basically, the top in Bitcoin is already in, And in altcoins, from this point moving forward, we are actually going to have a massive bear market and continue setting lower highs and lower lows. Now, if the second scenario is in play, then okay, KASPA going down is not really going to be the biggest problem for us. Literally every single altcoin that you got, all of them are going to go down, and KASPA, well, it's not going to be an exception. On the other hand, if we are still in an environment where hopefully soon, altcoins are going to have a good bounce and outperform BTC for a little bit, then okay, not only in KASPA, but also in a lot of other alts, we can expect some moves on the upside. And this is actually the key point and why I'm saying this is a coin toss. You see, one way or the other. In the first case, we are going to have a move up in KASPA, and we need to pay full attention to the shape of our move on the upside, okay? This is really the key point that will tell you whether the final top right in here about 22 cents area is in or not. If we see a massive bounce, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, generally a very strong move without a lot of overlapping of the waves, that is going to be a great sign suggesting, yeah, you know what, the top is not in yet and this is a correction and structure. And from this point, we can have a 1, 2, and then good move up into wave 3, 4, 5 in order to keep setting higher highs and high lows. On the other hand, if in KASPA, we see kind of a slow and choppy move on the upside, and between our pullbacks down in here, we are just constantly having overlapping of the waves. At that point, I'm going to tell you, you know what, in KASPA, we need to be very careful, because odds are this is going to be a correction and structure, meaning what? Yep, after, let's say, our alt season is over, in KASPA, we are going to get a move down, and unfortunately, the top is in. And pay attention, one way or the other, according to the first case, we are going to have a move on the upside in KASPA, and that's actually why I do think we are going to at least recover from all this crashing event. Now, if we are going to have a move up, whether it's going to be correction or an impulse, I think a likely target for it is going to be at least reaching to about this level between 13.8 to about 15.7 cents area. So for now, let's just count on a move up together, and then at that point we are going to make new videos and see what the shape of our move is looking like and is there actually room to be optimistic. But for now, I think it makes sense to be a bit more bullish than bearish, considering that such an insane liquidation event usually marks our final low in the midterm and what is going on when you go on some lower time frames. So you see, in my view, in KASPA, this move hopefully soon is going to come to an end. Having said that though, I do have my doubts about whether the final low right in here is in or not. And first things first, by the way, I forgot to tell you this. This video is gonna come out about 12 hours from now, and at that point, I'm willing to bet that you are actually seeing a decent move on the upside, and that might be, my friends, a very good sign suggesting, you know what, off of the lows, we do have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave impulsive structure, and I do think that, yep, most likely this is an A, B, C, D, E, a triangular structure, and in the next 12 to 24 hours, this move up, yeah, probably is going to continue a little bit. Now, here's a very important point. If you want to say that the bottom is in on KASPA, then okay, after completing this 5 wave up, you have to see a very slow and choppy move on the downside. If we get something like this, at that point, we can be bullish with more confidence and consider the possibility of this thing being on a higher degree, a 1, 2, meaning what are we going to have next? Yep, you guessed that right, a good move up into wave 3 and 4 and 5. And at that point, we can actually talk about having a V-shaped recovery process with a bit more confidence. But for now, in my view, it's a little bit too soon to be jumping into those kinds of bullish conclusions. Right now, in KASPA, let's have another short-term move on the upside and then count on a move down. And if in that phase, we are seeing a very slow and choppy move, which is going to take, let's say, somewhere between 3 to 5 days. Okay, that is going to definitely be, in my books, an optimistic sign indicating at least some sort of a short-term bottomism. On the other hand, what you do not want to see is from a bit higher, a rather strong move down without a lot of overlapping of the waves, and that is going to unfortunately suggest the bottom is not in yet. And from these areas, We can even have, I don't know, maybe a 20 to even 30% move down if we are not that lucky. For now, let's not talk about those scenarios. Let's focus on the current phase and see what the shape of it is going to look like. And I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in KASPA's chart. And until the next update, I hope you have a wonderful time with your family and loved ones. Goodbye.